Alyssa pushed open the front door quietly, her shoulders aching from the 12-hour shift she had just finished. The house smelled faintly of fried food, and the TV was blasting from the living room where she knew Derek and Kayla would be sprawled out like always. She slipped off her shoes, hoping to sneak upstairs without anyone noticing. But the sharp sound of her mother's voice stopped her halfway down the hall. "You can't keep dodging this, Alyssa. It's time you step up." Alyssa froze. Her mother's tone was clipped, stern, the one she usually saved for lectures. She shifted closer, careful not to be seen, and listened. "Step up for what?" she thought, already feeling her stomach twist. Her mother continued. "From now on you'll be covering not just your part of the bills, but Derek's share too. He and Kayla need time to get on their feet, and you're the only one bringing in steady money." The words slammed into Alyssa like cold water. She almost laughed out loud from disbelief, but her throat tightened instead. She was barely managing her own rent contribution, groceries, and the endless list of small household expenses her mother always pushed onto her. And now, Derek and Kayla? Her heartbeat picked up. She pressed her back against the wall, gripping her bag strap as if it would steady her. Inside the living room, she could hear Derek's lazy drawl. "See, Mom gets it. Family looks out for family." Kayla giggled softly. "Exactly. Alyssa's single. She doesn't have kids or big expenses. She can handle it." Their voices stung worse than the demand itself. Alyssa's jaw clenched. These two spent their days lounging, scrolling on their phones, ordering takeout with money they didn't earn, and still somehow expected her to carry them. Finally, her mother spoke again, firm and final. "This is family duty, Alyssa. Derek is the man of this house. His future must come first. If you refuse, don't think you'll be welcome under this roof much longer." Alyssa's breath caught. Thrown out. The words echoed like a slap. She had suspected her mother favored Derek, but this was worse than favoritism. It was a command to sacrifice her own life for his laziness. She stayed still, silent, afraid that if she walked in now her face would betray the storm inside her. Anger. Shock. A rising despair that threatened to swallow her whole. All she had ever done was work. 2 jobs, long hours, saving every cent she could. And still, it wasn't enough. Not for her mother. Not for this house. Her throat burned, but no tears came. She wouldn't give them that. Not tonight. Instead, Alyssa turned quietly, slipping up the stairs without making a sound. Every step felt heavy, like she was walking deeper into quicksand. By the time she reached her room and shut the door, her hands were shaking. Her mother's words replayed in her head on a loop. Family duty. Derek is the man of the house. You'll be out if you refuse. Alyssa sank onto her bed, staring at the floor. She didn't know what scared her more, the threat of being thrown out, or the crushing weight of knowing that her mother truly believed Derek deserved to live off her hard work. She hugged her knees to her chest, whispering to herself in the quiet, "How much more can I take?" The house hummed with the laughter of Derek and Kayla downstairs, their carefree voices like salt in a wound. And Alyssa sat in her room, her world tilting, her heart caught between rage and heartbreak. Works 2 jobs, dreams of saving for grad school. That was Alyssa's life in one line. She woke up early every day, rushing between shifts at the coffee shop and the bookstore, sometimes barely having enough time to eat or sleep. Her dream was simple but felt far away. Grad school, a career where she could finally use her degree, a chance to build a life that was her own. Every paycheck, she tried to set aside a little, but most of it disappeared into bills and her mother's endless demands. Living at home was supposed to help her save money, but instead it felt like a trap. The walls of the house pressed in on her, filled with arguments, favoritism, and the sound of Derek and Kayla laughing downstairs while she dragged herself to work. She wanted her own place, her own freedom, but the math never worked out. Rent was too high, her wages too low, and now her mother wanted even more from her. Her mother was the biggest weight on her shoulders. A hard woman, sharp with words and firm with rules, she ruled the house like a general. For as long as Alyssa could remember, her mother made her feel like she owed the family everything. When Alyssa tried to push back, even a little, her mother's eyes would turn cold, and the guilt would come crashing down. Family comes first, she always said, though her version of family meant Alyssa carrying the burden while Derek was pampered. It was no secret who her favorite was. Derek, her golden son, could do no wrong. He had been spoiled since they were kids, always shielded from responsibility. Their mother believed men should be protected, their futures guarded, while women should sacrifice and hold everything together. Alyssa was living proof of that belief. She cooked, she cleaned, she paid her share, and sometimes theirs, while Derek lounged on the couch, claiming he was figuring things out. Derek was charming when he wanted to be. He knew how to smile, how to talk smooth, how to make people believe he was trying. But Alyssa had lived with him long enough to see the truth. He wasn't job hunting. He wasn't building a future. He was manipulating, leaning on their mother's favoritism to avoid real responsibility. And whenever Alyssa called it out, he'd flip the story, acting like she was the problem. He'd mock her, call her uptight, remind her that she was still living at home, as if her hard work meant nothing. Then there was Kayla. His girlfriend had been around for 2 years, and it seemed she had no intention of leaving. At first, Alyssa thought maybe Kayla would push Derek to do better, but instead, she only added to the weight. Kayla was as lazy as Derek, always lounging beside him, painting her nails, scrolling through her phone, or online shopping with money she didn't earn. She had a sly way of mocking Alyssa, never outright cruel, but always dropping little comments that cut deep. "Wow, you're always working. Don't you ever relax?" she'd say, smiling sweetly, as if Alyssa was the fool for trying. Together, Derek and Kayla acted like royalty in the house, while Alyssa was treated like the servant. Their mother defended them at every turn, saying they needed support and time, while Alyssa was told to stop complaining and do what needed to be done. For years, Alyssa had swallowed her anger. She told herself she was being responsible, that if she just held on a little longer, she'd save enough to move out and escape. But the truth was, the longer she stayed, the heavier the chains felt. Every month brought new demands, new guilt, new sacrifices. The cruelest part was that no one seemed to notice. To the outside world, Derek was still the charming son with potential. Kayla was just his pretty girlfriend, and their mother was a strong woman raising her children. No one saw Alyssa carrying the weight of it all. No one saw how exhausted she was, how close she was to breaking. She had always been the responsible one. The one who held things together when everything else was falling apart. But responsibility was crushing her now. She was 24, working non-stop, and yet she felt powerless in her own life. She was drowning in expectations that weren't hers to carry, trapped in a cycle of sacrifice that never seemed to end. And deep down, Alyssa knew the truth she didn't want to admit. If nothing changed soon, her dreams of grad school, her hopes of freedom, her chance at a better life, they might all slip away before she ever got the chance to reach them. The mother hands Alyssa a paper with the exact amount she owes for Derek and Kayla's rent contribution. It was written in her mother's sharp, neat handwriting, the numbers circled twice in red ink. Alyssa stared at it, her chest tightening. The amount was more than half her paycheck, money she had planned to save for grad school applications. "What is this?" Alyssa asked, her voice low but trembling. Her mother crossed her arms, her expression already hard. "It's what you'll pay from now on. You're part of the bills and Derek's rent. He needs time to focus on his future, and Kayla is with him. You're the one who's working, so it's only fair." Alyssa blinked at her, unable to believe what she was hearing. "Fair? You want me to pay for them too? They don't even work." From the couch, Derek smirked without shame. "Relax. Cease. It's just until I get things sorted." Kayla gave a soft laugh, tossing her hair over her shoulder. "Yeah, you're good at handling money, Alyssa. It makes sense." Alyssa's hands shook as she held the paper. She could feel her pulse pounding in her ears. "No. I can't do this. I barely make enough for myself. If you think I'm going to pay for 2 grown adults who sit around all day, you're wrong." The refusal came out sharper than she expected, and for a moment, the room went still. Then her mother's face darkened. "Watch your tone, young lady," she snapped. "Derek is the man of this house. His future comes before yours. If you really cared about family, you'd understand that." The words hit Alyssa like a slap. The man of this house. Derek, who never lifted a finger, who mocked her hard work, who let her struggle while he lounged around. He was the one who mattered? Not her. Alyssa's throat burned, but she stood her ground. "I'm not doing it. I won't pay their rent." Her mother's voice rose to a shout. "Don't you dare defy me. Everything I do in this house is for family, and you will do your part. If you refuse, don't think you'll be welcome here much longer." Alyssa's heart dropped at the threat. The words hung in the air, heavy and cruel. She could see Derek smirking in the corner of her eye, Kayla watching like it was a show made for her amusement. It was in that moment that Alyssa understood something she had been trying not to face. This wasn't really about money. It was about control. It was about her mother's favoritism, about always protecting Derek at her expense. It was about making sure Alyssa stayed small, obedient, and sacrificing. Her whole life, she had been the responsible one, the one who carried the weight. And now her mother wanted even more, willing to push her out if she didn't give in. Alyssa folded the paper slowly and set it back on the table. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. Instead, she looked at her mother with steady eyes, though inside her chest felt like it was breaking. "I said no," she whispered. Her mother glared, her lips pressed tight. "Then you'll regret it." Derek leaned back with a grin, clearly entertained, while Kayla tapped her nails on the arm of the couch, smirking. Alyssa turned away, her body stiff, her mind spinning. Fear clawed at her. Fear of being thrown out. Fear of losing the little security she had left. But beneath the fear was something stronger. A fire, small but steady. She had bent her whole life to please them. And still it was never enough. Not this time. As she walked back to her room, Alyssa made a silent vow. No matter what her mother said, no matter how much pressure they put on her, she would not give in. She would not hand over her dreams, her money, or her independence just to keep Derek and Kayla comfortable. For the first time, Alyssa chose herself, even if it meant everything around her would fall apart. Alyssa becomes the villain of the house. Her mother gives her the cold shoulder, barely speaking to her except to demand chores. At the dinner table, she pretends Alyssa isn't there, passing food to Derek and Kayla first while ignoring her. The silence is heavy, sharp, meant to punish. Derek makes sure to add his own jabs whenever he can. "Some people forget blood comes before selfishness," he says loudly, smirking at Kayla. Kayla joins in with soft laughter, tossing little comments meant to sting. "Must be nice having money but refusing to help your own family," she would say, her voice sugary but mocking. Every day feels like a battlefield. Alyssa keeps paying her own share of the bills, never missing, but she refuses to hand over the extra money. That refusal becomes the spark for constant fights. Her mother corners her in the kitchen, demanding to know why she is so stubborn. Derek accuses her of trying to watch him fail. Kayla shakes her head like Alyssa is cruel for not supporting them. No matter what Alyssa says, nothing changes. The house, once already tense, grows unbearable. Even when she comes home late from work, tired and drained, the air feels heavy with judgment. She tries to ignore it, but the whispers, the laughter, and the silence eat away at her. It gets worse when Derek starts calling relatives. At first, Alyssa doesn't notice, but soon, the phone calls start coming in. An aunt calls saying, "Why are you being so selfish? Derek is your brother. Don't you want him to succeed?" A cousin texts, scolding her for putting herself above family. The lies spread quickly. Derek tells everyone that Alyssa refuses to help even though he is working hard to find a job. He paints her as cold, greedy, ungrateful. Kayla adds her own version, whispering to neighbors and friends about Alyssa's selfish attitude. The weight of it crushes Alyssa. She begins to doubt herself. Was she really being selfish? Was she wrong for saying no? The guilt presses hard, mixing with her exhaustion from work. At night, she lies awake staring at the ceiling, torn between duty and self-respect. Part of her wants to give in, just to make the shouting stop, just to feel peace again. But another part of her knows if she does, she'll lose herself completely. The loneliness becomes unbearable until one small moment changes everything. At the coffee shop, her coworker and friend Lila notices Alyssa's tired eyes. "You okay?" she asks gently. For the first time, Alyssa opens up, spilling everything. Her mother's demands, Derek's laziness, Kayla's mocking, the threats. Lila listens quietly, then shakes her head. "Don't let them take your future, Alyssa," she says firmly. "You've worked too hard for this. You have dreams, grad school, your own life. If you give in now, you'll never get free. You deserve better than being their safety net." The words sink deep into Alyssa's heart. It feels like someone finally sees her, finally believes she matters. For the first time in weeks, she feels lighter. The guilt is still there, but now it's mixed with strength, a reminder that she isn't crazy for wanting more. But the house doesn't ease up. If anything, the tension grows worse. Her mother grows colder, angrier. Her eyes sharp with disappointment every time they meet. Derek grows louder in his taunts, almost enjoying Alyssa's struggle. Kayla acts like the queen of the house, laughing at Alyssa's silence. The pressure builds every single day, until one night her mother explodes. It happens in the living room, the TV buzzing in the background. Her mother slams her hand on the table, her voice shaking with rage. Enough of this nonsense. You think you can refuse me forever? If you don't start paying Derek's rent by the end of this month, you can pack your things and get out of my house. The words crash through the room like thunder. Derek leans back with a grin, clearly enjoying the show. Kayla's smile spreads slow and smug, like she already knows how this will end. Alyssa feels her chest tighten, fear mixing with fury. Her mother's eyes burn into hers, waiting for her to break. Choose, Alyssa, she spits. Family or the streets? Alyssa doesn't answer. Not yet. Her heart pounds, her mind racing. She knows this is the final push, the line she cannot escape. She feels the walls of the house pressing in, trapping her. And deep inside, beneath the fear, the fire grows. At dinner, the air was heavy and sharp, like everyone was waiting for something to happen. The smell of roasted chicken filled the room, but Alyssa barely touched her plate. She was tired from her shift, her hands still sore from carrying trays, her head buzzing with thoughts. She tried to stay quiet, to just eat in peace, but her mother's voice broke the silence like glass shattering. Give me your paycheck, Alyssa, she said firmly, not looking at her but at the table as if the matter was already settled. It's time you handed it over, so we can cover Derek's rent. Enough games. Alyssa froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. Her stomach turned cold. She looked up, and Derek was already watching her with a smug grin, Kayla hiding a smile behind her glass of soda. Her mother's eyes snapped to her. Don't you dare argue with me at this table. You will do as I say. Hand it over. Alyssa's chest tightened. For weeks she had bitten her tongue, endured the cold stares, the taunts, the lies. But something inside her cracked wide open. Her hands shook as she placed her fork down, but her voice, when it came, was sharp and steady. No, I won't. The room went still. Derek let out a laugh, low and mocking. Kayla smirked, leaning back in her chair. Her mother's face hardened, her lips pressed thin. You selfish, ungrateful girl. Her mother spat. Your brother is the man of this house. He needs this help to build his future. And you? No. Alyssa's voice rose, cutting her off, her hands clenched into fists. Stop saying that. Derek isn't building anything. He's not job hunting, he's not trying. He sits on that couch all day while I work 2 jobs just to keep this house standing. Her words hit the table like thunder. Derek's smirk slipped, his face twisting with anger. And you? Alyssa turned to Kayla, her voice trembling but fierce. You waste money on shopping sprees and call me selfish because I work? Do you think I don't notice the deliveries, the new clothes, the makeup? You two don't pay for anything. I do. I've been holding this house together, not Derek, not you. Me. Her breath came fast, her heart pounding, but she kept going. The years of silence, of swallowing her pain, all spilled out now. I've worked myself sick, and still it's not enough for you. You want everything, my money, my future, my life, so Derek can live like a king while I'm treated like dirt. The room was quiet except for Alyssa's ragged breathing. Her mother's eyes burned with fury, but Alyssa saw no understanding in them. No love, no fairness, only cold judgment. Finally, her mother slammed her hand on the table, rattling the plates. How dare you speak about your brother that way? After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? If you cannot respect my rules, then you can leave this house tonight. The words sliced through Alyssa's chest like a knife. Even after everything she had said, everything she had revealed, her mother still chose Derek. She still saw Alyssa as the problem. The betrayal stung deeper than she thought possible. Derek leaned back with a cruel smile. Guess you're out, sis. Kayla chuckled softly, her eyes glittering with satisfaction. Alyssa felt her throat tighten, her eyes burning. For a moment, fear gripped her. Where would she go? How would she survive? But then something shifted. She looked at her mother, at Derek, at Kayla, and she realized the truth. She had already been alone in this house for years. She had been carrying everything while they dragged her down. She straightened in her chair, her voice calm now, steady. Fine. If that's what you want, I'll go. Her mother's expression flickered, surprised for a moment, but quickly hardened again. Don't come crawling back when life chews you up. Alyssa stood, her legs trembling but strong. I won't crawl back, she said softly, more to herself than to them. She left her plate untouched on the table and walked out of the dining room. Her heart pounding but lighter than it had felt in years. Fear still gnawed at her, but beneath it was something stronger, dignity, freedom. She didn't know where she would go tonight, or how she would make it work, but for the first time, she chose herself, even if it meant starting over with nothing. She moves in temporarily with a supportive friend, Lila, who quickly clears out her spare room and makes space for Alyssa's few belongings. It isn't much, just a bed, a dresser, and a desk, but to Alyssa it feels like freedom. The first night she lies down in that bed, she doesn't hear Derek's mocking laugh, Kayla's fake sweet voice, or her mother's angry footsteps. She hears silence, and that silence feels like peace. At first, life is hard. Alyssa worries about money, about where she'll end up, but Lila encourages her every day. You'll get through this, she says, pushing Alyssa to keep her eyes on the future. So Alyssa picks up extra shifts at the coffee shop, even working weekends at the bookstore. The days are long and exhausting, but each time she gets her paycheck, she feels stronger. The money is hers. No one can snatch it away. With Lila's help, Alyssa also starts applying for scholarships. Late at night, after work, she sits at her desk typing essays, filling out forms, and sending off applications. Every click of the submit button feels like another step away from the cage she once lived in. For the first time, she isn't just surviving. She's planning her own way forward. Meanwhile, back at her mother's house, things begin to unravel. Without Alyssa's steady contributions, the bills start piling up. The lights flicker off when payments are missed. The fridge grows emptier. Letters marked final notice arrive at the door. Derek shrugs it off, insisting he'll figure something out. Kayla complains about not having money for her shopping, nagging Derek to do something, but he only grows angrier and lazier. Within a few months, eviction notices appear. The rent isn't paid, and the landlord grows tired of excuses. Derek's charm doesn't work this time, and Kayla's sweet smiles can't cover the truth. They were freeloading, and now the safety net is gone. For the first time, Alyssa's mother sees the house for what it is, falling apart without the daughter she had pushed away. She realizes who had been holding it together all along. Desperation drives her to pick up the phone, her voice sharp but shaky when Alyssa answers. Alyssa, you need to come home, her mother says. We can't keep up without you. The house isn't the same. Alyssa feels a pang in her chest. Old habits tug at her. The voice that always told her she had to save everyone. But this time she doesn't bend. She takes a slow breath and answers calmly. I'm not coming back, Mom. I've found my own way now. You'll have to figure it out. Her mother tries again, guilt dripping from every word. Family sticks together. You're abandoning us. Alyssa closes her eyes, remembering the years of sacrifice, the nights of tears, the endless demands. No, she says softly. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm choosing myself. That's something I should have done a long time ago. When she hangs up, she doesn't cry. She doesn't feel guilty. She feels free. Slowly, her hard work begins to pay off. One afternoon, after weeks of waiting, an email pops up on her screen. She's been awarded a scholarship that will cover most of her grad school tuition. Alyssa stares at the screen, her hands trembling, tears finally slipping down her cheeks. Not from pain this time, but from relief. Her dream is no longer out of reach. She looks around Lila's apartment, small but warm, and realizes something important. She isn't a pawn in her family's favoritism game. She isn't just the responsible one, who exists to carry others. She's Alyssa, hardworking, brave, and worthy of building her own life. For the first time, she feels the weight lifting off her shoulders. The future is hers, and she's finally strong enough to claim it. Alyssa sits in her small new apartment, exhausted but free. The room is quiet, the only sound the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Boxes still sit unopened against the wall, and the mattress on the floor is plain, with no headboard or frame. It isn't much, but to Alyssa, it feels like everything she has ever wanted. Her own space, her own life, untouched by her mother's rules or Derek's lazy taunts. She sinks into the worn armchair by the window, her body heavy from another long day at work. Her feet ache, her shoulders are sore, but for once, the exhaustion feels different. It isn't the crushing weight of carrying everyone else's burdens. It's the tiredness that comes from building something of her own. On the small desk across the room, her laptop sits open. The screen glows softly, displaying the email she has already read a dozen times. Congratulations, Alyssa. You have been accepted into our graduate program. Her eyes blur as fresh tears gather. She leans forward, reading it again slowly, as if the words might disappear if she blinks too fast. But they don't. They're real. She made it. For so long, Alyssa thought her dreams would be stolen from her, buried under bills and expectations, drowned out by her mother's voice telling her to sacrifice, to obey, to give everything until nothing was left. But now here she is holding proof that she didn't give in, proof that she fought for herself, even when it terrified her. She presses her hand over her mouth, laughing softly through her tears. It feels strange, this mix of sadness and joy. She thinks of all the nights she lay awake in that house, wishing things were different, wishing someone would choose her. No one did. So she chose herself. Alyssa wipes her face, sits back in the chair, and whispers into the quiet room. This time I chose me. The words hang in the air, gentle but powerful. She feels them settle deep inside, warming her in a way nothing else ever has. For the first time, she isn't ashamed of putting herself first. She understands now that survival is not selfish. It's necessary. She looks around her little apartment again. The peeling paint on the walls, the second-hand furniture, the stacks of books waiting to be organized. To anyone else, it might look small, incomplete, even rough. But to Alyssa, it's a beginning. A place where she can breathe, dream, and grow without fear of being silenced. She closes her laptop, switches off the light, and leans back in her chair, staring out the window at the night sky. The city hums quietly in the distance, full of movement, full of possibility. Tomorrow will be hard. There will be bills to pay, shifts to cover, classes to prepare for. But tonight, Alyssa allows herself to rest. Tonight, she holds on to her victory, however quiet it may be. Because this is not the end. It's the start of everything she has been fighting for. And as sleep pulls at her eyes, one last thought settles firmly in her heart. She is finally free, and she will never let anyone take that away again. Hey friends, thanks so much for sticking around till the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.